Welcome everyone to the Virtual Reality Game Awards for 2022. I'm your host, Live Open Mike. I am a virtual reality live streamer and content creator. I've been on Twitch for about 1.5 years, and I'm starting to very slowly move my way into the YouTube space. So why am I doing this? I think virtual reality games should have their own show. And 2022 has actually been a very big year for VR that we'll talk about throughout the course of the show. There's been hundreds of games that released across Steam and Meta this year, and that's not counting places like itch.io, SideQuest, and App Lab. That's also not counting mods, anything in early access, betas, things like that. It's been an absolutely massive year. We'll probably see more games in VR come out this year than any other year in the past. It makes sense that, or it doesn't make sense that if you watch the Video Game Awards, VR AR had its own little small category with just 5 games, and there was a throwaway segment where Jeff Keighley stood up and went through like 5 categories all in a row. VR was one of them.
Here are the nominees for Best
Ragnarok
VR
2,
AR game. After the Fall, Among Us VR,
Christ, here we go.
Lab, Moss Book 2, and Red Matter 2. And the Game Award goes to...
It's Among Us.
Moss Book 2.
Yes!
Congratulations.
If you watched the VR Awards a few weeks ago, there was one VR Game Award, and then the rest was like Developer of the Year, Hardware of the Year, and a bunch of stuff that was fitted more towards the industry people, not so much gaming. VR gaming is where my heart is at, and I am absolutely excited to be doing this for everyone. To qualify for this ballot, this was a ballot that I put together myself. The game had to release between December 2021 and the end of November 2022. So anything outside of that time period did not count. Also, any game that was ported to VR from an existing VR port, for instance, Into the Radius came out on Steam 2 years ago. So I did not put that in the ballot because even though the Quest version just came out this year, it's essentially the same game as what came out 2 years ago. So I didn't want to put that in there. There are 56 games nominated across 19 different categories. The only influences that I can say happen is every single developer, including Knock, who's in chat right now, were tagged every time they were nominated. So there were images and there were promotional videos that went out over the course of Twitter for the last 5 weeks. So if that developer decided to put that out to their community to get more votes, then that's perfectly fine. But that was the only bias that was in. Everything else was 100% fan voted. My personal taste, other than creating the ballot in certain cases itself, didn't really play into this. So I want to make sure that everyone knew this was 100% above board. We're also going to be watching some previews of games in 2023. On the ballot, there are going to be no mods here tonight, and for this stream. And part of that is because, frankly, I don't feel like I am an authority on VR mods. There are a lot of great content creators like Croy VR, Dr. Oculus, Dr. Greg, Gamertag, Beardo Banjo, Tribe Grey Wolf, who do a lot of great content for VR mods. I don't really work a whole lot in that space because not everyone can get to everything, so I didn't want to slip that in there. Same thing for alphas, betas, stuff in App Lab and stuff in SideQuest. SideQuest and App Lab specifically, there's a whole program called the SideQuest Sidekicks. That's Joshi Pashi, Lazotic. I'm going to forget a bunch of a Welsh gamer, Clickster, That VR Girl, VR with Jasmine. They spend all the time in the world going through, crawling through everything in SideQuest and App Lab, and they tell you the best games to play. I don't do that because of time. Again, we can't get to everything. Snowviving, thank you for the follow. So I want to make sure that I didn't cover a topic or a category that I genuinely did not feel I was qualified to get into. So these are full 2022 VR releases. So I want to make sure that was clear. So let's get into the main show. The first category is Best Flat Screen and VR Port. One of the games I'm looking forward to in 2023 is not directly a flat screen to VR port, but it is a continuation of the flat screen series. It's Horizon Call of the Mountain. That's going to launch on February 20th, 2023 with the launch of the PlayStation VR 2. Let's check out the trailer.
Where are you taking me? I asked you a question.
It's a snap mob.
We're not gonna make it! Climb the mountain.
Will take all your wits, your skills. You have walked in the shadows, Reyes. Now it is time to climb into the light.
Like I said, the first category is flat screen and VR port. Here are your nominees. Those are your nominees. Your winner for Best Flat Screen 2 VR Port is Among Us VR. Hello, Corey, first time chatter. You absolutely nailed it. Among Us VR, let me backtrack through my results here. Among Us VR won with 52.5% of the vote. That is a big, big victory for that company. Congratulations to the team that worked on that. Everyone over at Shell Games. Fantastic game. The next category is Best Ongoing Support. This is the only category that will have non-2022 games in it. Replayability is one of the biggest complaints about VR games because a lot of them, especially story campaign games, are quite short. Ongoing support can be anything from if you have a rhythm game out that's putting out new tracks and things like that, new maps for shooters, new modes, new seasons, things of that nature. All those play into making sure that the community stays engaged with the game long term, as opposed to that first 30 to 60-day crunch when everyone's playing the game. You want people to come back to your game over and over and over again. These are your nominees for ongoing support. Your winner for ongoing support is Beat Saber. Beat Saber released multiple tracks. I believe the Lizzo track came out this year. Billie Eilish was earlier this year. Beat Saber won with 33.3% of the vote. The next closest game was Demio. There might be a little bit of a snub here because I probably could have put Walkabout Mini Golf in here. But honestly, I had a really hard time trying to take one of these games out. Contractors just released full mod support this year. They've got Lord knows how many tracks on that game, or maps in that game. I think it's like 150 maps in that game. Since they embrace the modding community, there's a bunch of loadouts there. Zenith just released their new season. They put out a bunch of new content over the course of this year. I think they've had 2 or 3 really great updates. And what was the other one? Population 1 just launched their sandbox mode. That just launched recently, but they've been very good about putting out new maps, new seasons, seasonal things, everything like that. Here we go. Here are your nominees. I'm nervous. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Here are your nominees for Best Family Game. Your winner for Best Family Virtual Reality Game, Knock wins Best Family Game. Knock won with 41.6% of the vote. A very, very strong win. Congratulations to everyone over at Normal VR, over at that team. Our next category is Best Sim/Strategy Game. I need to be very clear on this. I consider simulation anything from not just like city builders, but that could be something like gardening. That could be something like survival games. So for instance, Green Hill VR is in this one. Into the Radius, if it counted, would have been in there. It did not because the original game came out in 2020. This is Best Sim. Here are your nominees. Winner for Best Sim is Green Hill VR. Go. There we go. My button wouldn't go. It was really annoying. Green Hill VR wins Best Sim with 35.8% of the vote. This is not really a huge surprise. It's probably the most popular game in that category, although I thought Little Cities was going to win it, and Little Cities was actually leading up until I think the 4th week. We voted for 5 weeks, and week 4, Green Hill overtook it. But Little Cities was winning for the first 3 weeks of voting there. Congratulations to the team over at Incuvo Games who actually made the port of Green Hill VR. Our next 2023 trailer is Black Trail. This game actually plays through 2 different story modes. You play as I don't want to say colonizer, a settler, I guess, and as a Native American. So you play across 2 different stories. Let's check out the trailer. This comes out in 2023.
Cockroaches and bounty hunters. White men didn't think one native was enough for them. Their disrespect was their downfall.
Okay, summer 2022 looks a little bit off. This was an older trailer, but Black Trail does come out on PC VR and Meta next year, 2023. Our next category is Best Puzzle Game. I love playing puzzle games, especially in VR. I don't stream a lot of them anymore just because I don't think they stream very well, i.e. people don't really like seeing me stuck on one puzzle for over an hour on stream. That doesn't really play very well, but I do play a lot of puzzle games off stream. Here are your nominees for Best Puzzle Game. Your winner for Best Puzzle Game is, The Last Clockwinder. This was a massive margin of victory. The Last Clockwinder won with 61% of the votes. Absolutely dominant. Meta also named this game one of their best games of the year. Having said that, The Last Clockwinder was up in the 50% well before Meta put that out there. So, yeah, big win. Last Clockwinder is a fantastic game. If you have not played it, it's got a wonderful story. It's very challenging in spots, but it's not stressful. It's not tension inducing. It's a very, very relaxed puzzle game with a wonderful story. Everyone should check it out for sure. Our next category is Best Action Adventure Game. Oh, let me say that. Best Adventure Game. I separate action from adventure because adventure is stuff like open world traversal, big storylines, big worlds, and things like that. Action games to me are just high octane all the time. Those are stuff like wave shooters and things like that. I try to separate those two categories. Here are your nominees for Best Adventure Game. Those are nominees for Best Adventure Game, and your winner is Moss Book 2. Anyone who has ever been around my channel knows my affinity for this game, for this franchise. I love Moss Book 2. I've streamed it multiple times. Congratulations to Polyart Games on making a fantastic game. It's really hard to make a good sequel and really improve upon the first game. There's a whole category for best sequels later in the show. Again, congratulations to Polyart. I would be remiss if I did not promote myself throughout this process, because while I'm promoting all these games of VR and going into 2023 and back here in 2022, I still got to talk about myself. So here's a little trailer, a little flavor of what you can expect on Live Open Mic. If you've ever played a VR game, you understand the importance of this. It doesn't make any sense to put on this goofy headset and pick up these controllers if you can't interact with the environment. Physics can mean anything from just being able to simply pick up an object to like visceral combat. If you ever play something like Saints and Sinners, or really any kind of combat game, you understand how important physics are in a VR game, and that's what sets it apart from flat screen. Here are your here are your nominees for Best Physics. Your winner for best physics. Your winner for best physics is Bone Lab. This really should not surprise anyone. Boneworks is a very, very popular PC VR game, and there was a lot of hype surrounding Bone Lab over the course of the year. Bone Lab won with, let me check the percentage. Bone Lab won with 46.8% of the vote, so again, a pretty big victory. There were some close races in here, but Bone Lab absolutely ran away with the competition here. Sound design isn't music. Sound design is something like if you're in a plane or a car, like the roar of the engine around you as you do that. If you're playing a VR horror game, you understand how important sound design is. The spatial audio around you. If you're playing Five Nights at Freddy's, being able to hear like the footsteps coming at you and knowing when stuff's happening, it is super, super important to have good sound design in a game, especially in a VR game. Because it just helps with the immersion. Bad sound design will absolutely break immersion and make things not flow well. I need to take the winners off the screen there. Here are your nominees for best sound design. Your winner for best sound design. Your winner for best sound design. Vox Machina. This one surprised me. I did not think Vox Machina was going to win. It wins with 31.7% of the vote. The next closest game was Rhythm of the Universe Eolia, followed by Warplanes Battle Over Pacific, Twilight Zone, and then NFL Pro Era brought up the rear. If you've ever played Vox Machina, and it's people who just got the keys, really, really close. But Vox Machina, that game, you can hear the roar of the engine. You can hear the hisses of things going on around you. You actually have to grab the control sticks to move the mech. It's not just arcade style where you can move exactly with your analog sticks. You have to grab and move everything around. The physics in that are really, really good. And the sound design. If your mech overheats, you can hear it. You can feel and hear every single stump of it. It's a really, really well laid out game in terms of physics and of sound design. So congratulations, Space Bullet Corps, for that win. Our next category is Best Sequel. A very, very exciting PC VR sequel comes out in 2023. If you're a PC VR enthusiast, you already know the one I'm talking about. People are really, really excited about this game. Vertigo 2 launches on March 30th, 2023. Let's watch the trailer.
You seek the reactor core. You saw the path is sealed.
That is Vertigo 2, as I said previously. That game will launch on March 30th, 2023. People are very, very excited for this. You gotta play the first Vertigo. I'm actually gonna be streaming those on my channel here in Live Open Mic in March. I'm gonna stream them both back to back. I don't think there's really a bigger sign of growth in VR. The fact that we're seeing so many sequels come out. In addition to the 5 nominees we're gonna have here, there were multiple sequels that came out. I think I counted 10 over the course of the year, and there are more coming next year. It's awesome to see VR developers go back to the games that they already put out there, hopefully because they were successful or they just want to continue the story and say, you know what, we're going to take stabs at establishing actual VR franchises and actual VR legacies so people can be playing, you know, Moss 10, 15 years from now, or Red Matter 10, 15 years from now. I think that's going to be huge for VR's growth, and there's a big sign of it happening in 2022 because we got a ton of sequels. Here are your nominees for Best Sequel. Your winner for best sequel, Moss Book 2. Red Matter came in second by, let me count the votes here. Red Matter came in second by 19 votes. Moss won with 41.6% of the vote. Red Matter 2, 32.2% of the vote. And it really wasn't even close after that. Those two were the big vote takers there. So congratulations again to Polyart Games. It's their second win. Next category is Best Shooter. I'm going to say right now that I probably should have put After the Fall in this one. I did not. Reasons. But here are your nominees for Best Shooter. Your winner for best shooter, excuse me, by one vote. One vote. Your winner for best shooter, Nerf Ultimate Championship. It won by one vote over dead second. It was by far the closest category throughout the entire balloting. Our next category is Best Score in Music. I don't even need to give like a precursor for this. You all know how important music is to video games, whether that's flat screen or VR. It doesn't matter. Bad music will tank a game. Forgettable music will just make you not remember it. And good music is something that you can listen to over and over and over again. I'm a massive Legend of Zelda fan. Part of it is the epic music in every single Zelda game you ever play. Here are your nominees for Best Music. Your winner for Best Music is Moss Book 2. This one was very, very close. Moss Book 2 won, but right after it were Red Matter 2 and Rhythm of the University Olia. They were literally right behind it by like 5 votes. It was a very, very close one. Next category is Best Visuals. Again, I don't really need to explain this. A crappy looking game actually looks worse in VR than general. There's snow around me. Let's see if I can fix that. But yeah, a crappy looking game looks worse in VR than it does on flat screen because all that stuff is still around you. So if you can see, textures popping in and things like that, it really breaks immersion for you. So good visuals. I don't think they're like the cornerstone of a great game. The gameplay to me is number one in that, but it absolutely 100% can make a game better. Here are your nominees for Best Visuals. Your winner for Best Visuals, this one wasn't even close. Red Matter 2. Red Matter 2 won with 48.9% of the vote. Absolutely ran away with it. It's a beautiful game. All these are beautiful games, and any one of them could have won, honestly. But yeah, Red Matter 2, absolutely stunning game. The fact that that game runs and looks as good as it does on the Quest 2 and on Pico for mobile headsets is a technological achievement. Congratulations to Vertical Robot for a phenomenal job porting that game over to all VR platforms. All right, our next category is Best Horror Game. If you have ever played a horror game in VR, it is another level of terrifying. And if you haven't played a horror game in VR, but you like flat screen horror games, get yourself a VR headset and play some horror games. You'll never go back to flat screen horror. It's one thing to have, I'll use Freddy Fazbear as an example. It's one thing to have Freddy Fazbear jump at the screen. It's another thing for him to be inches from your face like this. It's absolutely terrifying. That's the best example. But VR horror games are just, I've streamed a lot of VR horror on this channel. It's bad. There's a reason there's a scream counter for my VR horror streams because they're terrible. Here are your nominees for Best VR Horror Game. Your winner for best VR horror game. Sorry, your winner for best VR horror game by 2 votes. 2 votes. The Twilight Zone VR. This one by 2 votes over Afterlife VR. Congratulations to the developer of that game. That is Fun Train VR. For a game that should I think Twilight Zone absolutely captures the feel of the show. From the opening credit to the Twilight Zone VR is ridiculous. It just feels like if you're an old school fan of the show, if you're a little bit older like me, I'm 41 years old, and you grow up watching stuff like the Twilight Zone, the game really does capture the essence of that. It's more creepy than scary, but it absolutely does qualify as a horror game. So congratulations to Fun Train for that. Next category is best narrative. I love playing story games. I played a lot of story games growing up. And frankly, I love to see as VR games evolve. When VR first started, a lot of the games were like hour-long glorified tech demos is what a lot of people called it. There weren't really long, big, lengthy story campaigns, but now we're getting games that are anywhere from like 5 to 20 hours long. Something like Asgard's Wrath, you can play for up to 30 hours. I'm in the middle of streaming Arcaxer right now. That's supposedly a 30 to 40-hour game. And we've seen a lot of those games come out in 2022. Here are your nominees for Best Narrative. Your winner for Best Narrative is Moss Book 2. That is the 4th win from Moss Book 2 at Moss or it's rigged. That's where we're going with now. That is your fourth win from Moss Book 2. Polyarch again put out a phenomenal game. Congratulations to that team. All right, and now for some more shameless self-promotion. Here is another dose of Live Open Mic. What's happening, folks? I'm Live Open Mic, and I'm a virtual reality streamer. On this channel, you can expect amazing jokes. Where's the best place to work if you only have one leg? IHOP. Impeccable voice acting. Hi, Jim Bob. Well, Jim Bob, I'm looking for myself a new rod. It's telling me to put suit on, but I think I'm already wearing suit, yes? An elite virtual reality gameplay.
I smooth out the way, man. Oh no! No, no, no! Run! Run! No! Don't kill me!
If highbrow humor and top-tier gameplay is your thing, peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. Go somewhere else. If you don't care about any of that stuff, then stick around and welcome to my midlife crisis. To explain the peanut butter jelly clip, I hate peanut butter. I hate peanut butter with fire passion. I think peanut butter is gross. Tastes like the devil's anus after night at Taco Bell. I hate peanut butter. It's a running joke on my channel. That's why that clip is in there. VR is, in my opinion, pretty much built on multiplayer. There are some people who don't play any single player experiences at all, and they only play VR multiplayer. So this was a really hard category to narrow down, but here are your nominees for Best VR Multiplayer. Your winner for Best VR Multiplayer, Knock. This is the second VR Game Award for Knock. Knock, congratulations. Please pass on our well wishes to everyone on the team. Our next category is Best Action. After the Fall is nominated in this category as well. I differentiate this from Adventure because Adventure to me is like different maps, level progression, and things like that. Action is just pure adrenaline. That's like horde shooters, wave shooters, tower defense, things like that. That to me is what falls to the action category. Here are your nominees for Best Action. Your winner For best action game, After the Fall. Runner was actually a very, very good game that I don't think got a lot of credit. After the Fall wins. This came from Vertigo Games. If you're not familiar with Vertigo Games, they also made Massmaker and, I'm sorry, I might have that wrong, and Arizona Sunshine. It's probably their biggest game before After the Fall came out. A wonderful game. Congratulations to the team over at Vertigo Games. The next trailer for 2023 is a game that is a game that's actually been floating around since I want to say 2020 it might be. I know I saw demos for this on YouTube. There were creators who were making videos for this up at least 2 years ago. The game is called Into the Darkness. It is expected to finally launch in 2023. Let's check out the trailer. The game looks phenomenal. Okay, we're a little bit off from 2021 on that one. That's actually when the demo was released. Sports is something that's really starting to grow more and more in VR. You're getting unique stuff like Knock, like Ultimax, along with more traditional sports, stuff like NFL Pro Era. There's a tennis game coming from Resolution Games next year. Those are the makers of Ultimax and Cookout, things like that. So it's nice to see that we're getting more sports games. And then, of course, it's stuff like Walkabout Mini Golf, Golf Plus, Real VR Fishing. Sports is a really underrated category in VR. Let's check out the nominees. Here are your nominees for Best Sports Game.
Go!
I can't believe I did that. Knock won Best Sports. I totally hit the wrong button. I'm still mad at myself right now, but that's okay. It's okay. Congratulations to Knock. Thank you for hanging out in chat. Knock won by, let me pull up the category here. Knock won with 56.4% of the vote. Holy crap. I need to know if you mobilize your army to vote if you mobilize your community to vote for a game. Knock won by a huge margin. The second game was Ultimax at 25%. Absolutely dominant victory. Next category is Best Fighting / Combat. I specifically put combat in here because, frankly, there are a lot of fighting VR games, and I want to include stuff like any mech battle games, and things of that nature. It's just anything that could have been combat that wasn't like straight hand to hand. Here are your nominees for Best Combat.
Go!
I totally did it again. Your winner for Best Combat is Wands. I gotta move my buttons. But you know what? I've only done it twice the entire show, so I'm actually okay with that. Wands Alliance. This one was actually very close. Wands Alliance won with 32.3% of the vote. Then Broken Edge came in second. World of Mechs was in third. Dragon Fist in fourth. And Altair Breaker brought up the rear. Congratulations to the team over at the Wands Alliance developers. It's a spiritual sequel to another game called Wands that came out a few years ago. Congratulations to that team. The final trailer I want to show. This is a game I'm very excited for. We just got this trailer at the Video Game Awards a few weeks ago. The game is called Behemoth. It comes to us from Skydance Interactive. You know them best as the makers of The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners. This game is going to launch on all VR platforms. Yes, you just missed a Knock giveaway. We just did it. This game is going to launch on all VR platforms next year. Very much looking forward to this. Here's the trailer for Behemoth.
There is no victory to be had here. The strength of your resolve is the only thing that will grant you another day. This place is relentless.
That is Behemoth. That will launch on all major VR platforms, on PC, on PlayStation VR, and on Meta Quest 2. I don't know how the hell they're going to get that game on Quest 2. That game will come out next year. That is honestly probably the game I'm most looking forward to. Is the tie between either that or Horizon Call of the Mountain. I've said I don't know when I'm going to play Horizon. I don't own the PlayStation 5, so we're going to work on that. All right. The final category is VR Game of the Year. I talked earlier about the fact that there are snubs. I easily could have put Wanderer in this category. I wanted to mimic the same one that the VR AR category at the Game Awards and in the VR Awards that were all a few weeks ago. I used the exact same ballot for there because I was curious if a different game would win if it was voted on by VR gamers versus the people who voted on the Game Awards, some of whom aren't VR players. So here are your nominees. If I were thinking ahead, I would have probably swapped out Among Us VR for Wanderer. I played that game and again at the beginning of the year and totally forgot about it. Your winner for virtual reality game of the year, Bone Lab. Not Moss 2, despite what a lot of people were saying. Moss 2 was in second. Bone Lab won pretty big. Bone Lab won with 29.2% of the vote. This was voted on purely by VR gamers. It was straight out of how many people? 357. 357 people. 357 ballots were submitted. The only category that I made mandatory was Game of the Year. All the other ones you did not have to vote on if you did not want to, because I didn't want someone voting for like best horror game or best sports game or anything like that if they didn't play those games. So Game of the Year was the only one that I made required. And congratulations to Stress Level Zero for the big win for Bone Lab for Game of the Year. Frankly, I was really surprised by that. So to recap here, Moss Book 2 had the most awards. It won 4, Knock won 3, and Bone Lab won 2. Congratulations to everyone who was nominated. I really appreciate everyone hanging out today. This has been a labor of love. It took a lot to put this together, being a one-man show and making all these hype videos and everything. Thank you all so much. It really does mean the world to me. I hope to do this again next year. I hope to make this an annual thing. So I'll see you for the 2023 Virtual Reality Game Awards in December 2023. Thanks everyone for watching.